and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 23rd day of August 2024. And of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers, and I am here from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Friday. Unless there's a reason for not coming here, I'm always here, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company. Of course, let me start by greeting all of our listeners, and we have listeners all up and down Nevis, in St. James, St. Thomas Parish, St. Paul's, St. John's, St. George Parish. The whole of Nevis is normally tuned into Von Radio, and we surely welcome you and hope you're having a wonderful lunchtime, those of you who are having lunch at this time. Indeed, I want to also welcome all listeners down there in St. Kitts, where we do have a large following as well, because Von Radio, of course, is on the FM dial, and indeed persons in St. Kitts who don't get the AM will get the FM, or both AM and FM, of course. So the whole of St. Kitts, I'm welcoming you to this program and your listenership as well. Of course, we can go down to the islands close to us, Sabre, Statia, St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, of course the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and all across North America, from the east coast of the United States into the Midwest and across to the western portion of the United States. The whole of Canada, especially those who are there from St. Kitts and Nevis, but most of Nevis, I say good afternoon to you. There are other time zones in Canada as well, of course, so it's either good morning or good afternoon. Of course, up in Europe it is afternoon. I want to welcome all of our listeners throughout the entire European continent, and also into Asia, but more particularly the Republic of China, Taiwan, where we do have a number of our citizens who are either studying or living there, working there, and the like. So I welcome one and all, and I usually take the time to do such thing because we do appreciate your listenership. We do appreciate your appreciate you making Von Radio your station of choice, because there's so many other radio stations out there, but you have chosen Von Radio because it is the Caribbean's only powerhouse, and the information that is emanating from this station, we don't believe in what you call it, what I should say, character assassination. We don't believe in lies. We don't believe in propaganda. We believe in bringing you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that is why Von Radio has separated itself from all of the other radio stations in the region, because some people will have programming to get likes and appreciation for what is spewed from the airwaves, but this station gives you wholesome information, and of course people gravitate to it because that is what the majority of persons will prefer to listen to, and that's why they tune into Von Radio. Well, I went to that, and I don't think I have to spend a whole heap of time to justify the importance of this radio station, but I do so because I have utmost respect and regard for the persons in authority here, the management, and of course the powerhouse team that is here, that certainly carries the name of Von Radio wherever they go. Well, let's move on, and of course we have a structure whereby we would acknowledge certain persons and inform you of certain events, so we'll do so now. And we start with persons who are in the bereaved column. There are a number of families that are grieving at this time, families who have lost a loved one, a mother, a father, grandmother, grandfather, cousin, son, daughter, whatever the case might be. I don't have everyone's name, but of course there are a number of families throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis that are grieving at this time. But one person or one family that I want to recognize is the Ward family over there in Mount Lily. Sometime last week, I believe it was last weekend, we were informed of the passing of Drake Ward. Well, his correct name is Morrison, but when we meet this gentleman in the past, or when we met him in the past, we would have said Drake, Drake Ward, yeah? But Drake Ward passed away, I believe it was last Saturday, I might be wrong, but sometime last weekend. And, well, of course, those of us who know or would have known Mr. Ward, he never taught me in school, but he was a teacher by profession for a number of years. And I say a number of years, I would almost guess that he would have taught for almost 40 years. Because you see, persons from that school or from that particular era would spend a long time in teaching, because once you determine from the get-go that teaching is your love, first love, teaching is the profession of choice for you, normally persons will spend a long time, inculcating the knowledge into our young men and young women. So he was a geography teacher there at the Charlestown Secondary School. Like I said, he never taught me, but at least when I went to the Charlestown Secondary, Charlestown Sixth Form, back in the 90s or 80s, sorry, what am I saying? Back in the 80s. I'm trying to be a bit younger than I am, but I went there between the years, I believe 86 and 88, somewhere back there, yeah? He was there as a geography teacher, and the students or the colleagues that I met at Sixth Form then would have passed through the hands of Drake Ward. So they were the ones who I learned quite a bit from in terms of Drake Ward and his temperament when it came to the administration of education. Anyway, I interacted with Drake Ward over the years in passing. Very quiet fellow, and there are persons who go about their business in a very quiet way, but they're like giants, so to speak, in terms of their contribution. So Drake Ward would have contributed, and he certainly would have left behind a rich legacy in the teaching profession. And when I say a rich legacy, I mean that he would have touched so many lives that the impact and the results of that is there to show. So those who would have had that type of interaction with Drake Ward can speak with more authority, but I can speak from the outside looking in and said that of course he would have done a remarkable job in that profession. And otherwise, I believe at one point he would have worked with the electoral machinery here in the Federation, but more so in the constituency of St. James. I believe at some point he was a returning officer or presiding officer, one who would have overseen the casting of ballots in the polling station. So he did his community some good, and he also would have done some good to the teaching profession as well. We're not certain about the arrangements for Mr. Ward, but let me acknowledge his two daughters, Thema, who I met yesterday, and also Karima. I haven't seen her for some time, but those are two of his daughters that I can recall. If there are anyone else, I don't know. But of course, any other family member, I want to express my sympathies to you, and we'll certainly find some time when, or we'll certainly try and make ourselves available when the time comes to lend some support. Yeah? Okay. And anyone else who are in the bereaved column, I express sympathies to you as well. While I'm at that, let me say there are persons who are hospitalized at this time, and I want to wish them a speedy recovery. Of course, up there at the Alexandria Hospital, we have Mr. Melford Toby Queely from Fountain area. That's the father of Melissa. Melissa would have informed me of him being there at the hospital, and I want to wish him all the best and wish him Godspeed as well. Of course, I visited there sometime last weekend, and I would have seen Mr. Wiggly Daniel there, Mr. My cousin, their first cousin, Stedroy Dorr. Stedroy, I wish you a speedy recovery. And of course, those of us who are familiar with Ralph Hutton, former taxi operator, he's there as well, and quite a number of persons who are there. But all who are there, we are with you in thought. At least I wish you a speedy recovery so you can come out and continue to make the contribution that you have always made to this beloved island of ours. But while you're there, have some rest and some recovery so that you can gain some strength and come back out to fight another day. And anyone who are not feeling well at this time, I want to wish you all the best and wish you recovery from whatever you're going through. But also keep in mind that it is important, very important, to consult your doctor in any regards if there are anything that you're uncertain of. And once that is the case, they will provide you with whatever is necessary for you to aid in your recovery as well. So I just thought that I'll start that way because we're going through a period these days when, persons are having their trials and tribulations, and that is just the nature of life. life presents all sorts of obstacles and challenges and difficulties, and we just have to dig deep and find the resolve to overcome some of these challenges and difficulties. But it is not beyond us, since all of us here on the island of Nevis are resilient people, and especially those who are older than us, who would have gone through so many things over their lifetime. They know how to dig, and they know how to dig even deeper, and they know how to find those remedies to cure some of their ailment or minimize the impact of some of the ailments. So I wish everyone well. In terms of birthdays, I also don't have a list of persons who are celebrating today, but I will say, in death there's life, and I am absolutely certain that someone is either celebrating a birthday today, an anniversary, or celebrating some significant milestone. Whatever the case is, I wish you a wonderful day of celebration. And as I've always said, that you want to celebrate as if it's the last time you're having such celebration. But by God's grace, we're wishing you many more years of celebration. But just celebrate as if it's the last, but have fun today. It is important for us to utilize every opportunity we have to take care of ourselves in the first place, to nurture ourselves, and to have fun when times are there to have fun. And of course, you wouldn't get any negatives from me when it comes to that, because I do believe in having fun once the situation is there to do so. Of course, we learned earlier this week that there were some results that were received from the different examination councils, meaning CXC. For example, persons would have received back their CAPE and CSEC results. I don't have any results with me, of course. I myself am waiting until the Ministry and Department of Education are able to put the necessary data together and disseminate it, so we can acknowledge those individuals who would have excelled at CAPE or CSEC or any other examination they would have done. But at this point in time, let me just give an overall congratulations to all who would have done well. Those who were not as successful as they may have wanted to be can always give it another shot again, meaning there are classes that are being offered for persons who want to do a subject over again or get a new subject area done. So I'm saying to those who would have been successful, though, congratulations, your hard work has paid off. And indeed, I know back in the day, many of us would have spent many hours throughout the night, throughout the day. Some of us would have gone into remote areas, maybe in a gut or under a tree somewhere, or separate ourselves from the noise and the difficulties of studying within the household environment or the house itself, and have gone other places and have gone there to study. And some of us came out with a little bit more than others, yes. Some of us came out with something, some of us made ourselves proud, and some of us who were not as successful would have gone back as well and have realized some success as a result. But those who would have done what they had to do this time around, this is just one of those stages where you can tell yourself, from here you go on to the next stage. The platform has been built, and it's time for you to move on to the next stage of success in your life. So this you can certainly embrace and be thankful that you have put in the effort to be successful. And I wish all of you out there all of the best. And I will say at this point in time that perhaps some of you who would have graduated or who have graduated, or I wonder, let's see, there are some persons who may graduate later this year, but those of you who have been successful and are thinking about getting into the work environment or getting into the field of work, you may not find the job that you're looking for at this point in time. And I'll give you by way of example, which this example is about myself. I can recall when we finished with sixth form some years ago, many years ago. The job market was totally different then. You know, you go into teaching, you go into nursing, you may find something in the private sector, maybe at a TDC or some other private entity. But of course, back in the day, those of us who, you know, wanted to make a dollar because things were challenging then, I myself would have gone and worked with Nara Lescott then. I recall that he was constructing the Mount Nevis Hotel back in 1987 thereabout, and I went there and I learned to lay tiles. Haven't followed up on it, but at least I was over there nipping tiles and cutting tiles. And of course, when they were casting the swimming pool over there, I remember us staying there one night until about 10 p.m., you know, casting concrete and everything to make sure that you get that pool, that swimming pool finished. Because, you know, you can't start and stop and come back the next day. It has to be a one pour, meaning one day. So we were there until 10 o'clock one night, and of course I was back up at 4 a.m. the next day, and back on that truck that was being driven by Mr. Well, I said Mr., but I want to say Prophet. Those of us who are old enough, those of you down in Hanley's Road would recall that a gentleman by the name of Prophet would have been the driver for Nara Lescott then. So I was in the construction field for a brief period of time. That is how the monies were made. It was not a lot of money. Compared to now, you would say that it was small money, but I suppose it paid some bills then. I believe I went with about $125 at the end of the week, but whatever it was a laborer's pay. But I say that to say this, that you may not find the job that you're looking for at this point in time. You may not find a government job. You may not find the job in the accounting field that you're looking, whatever the case might be. I will say to you, and this is my admonition and my advice, whatever is there to do, get up and do something in the meantime. If that is your priority at this point in time, go on out and do something. And then as time go by, you will find yourself in the area that you so desire to be in. I will go one step further by way of another example. I recall when we were done with Fifth Form, for example, there's a gentleman by the name of Clive Evelyn. We call him Booger. That's the brother of Minister Eric Evelyn. I recall when we were moving on to Sixth Form, Booger said, me, I ain't going nowhere to Sixth Form. I'm going to work with Strani. That is Analdo Shiverton. Well, Strani is his nickname. He went and worked construction. And today, I will tell you that as persons like Shiverton and Lescott and those senior contractors are exiting the stage and moving along in terms of not being that deeply involved in construction as they used to, persons like Booger or Clive Evelyn, who made a decision way back then that he is going into construction, have now gotten to the point where he is one of the major contractors here on the island of Nevis, one of the #1 contractors holding down multiple jobs. And that is someone who made up his mind from day one, from early on, I am going into construction. And then there are many others who would have decided to go into construction or into being a mechanic or whatever other professions out there that some of us tend to shun at times. Because even being an electrician, electricians are making big money these days. Of course, you need a training. A plumber, making big money these days. And all of those tilesmen, painter, all of them are making big money these days, you know. And I would tell you, you can be your own boss in those areas. And do not let anyone fool you and tell you there's nothing here to do. Construction is booming on the island of Nevis. And if it is that the demand is going to continue for these services, let me encourage some of our young men and young women to get into those areas as well. There are persons moving to the island and getting involved in these particular areas and are making money, making money. And so you don't have to be in an office somewhere in a long tie and in a tie and a long white shirt or something, or long sleeve shirt, or dressed up to go anywhere, because sometimes the money you make there is nothing compared to what some of these professions pull in, yeah? So there's nothing wrong with you doing that. So I went off on that particular route because I believe it's important for us to speak to our young people and encourage them to get up and get out. Get up and get out there to do something, and do something legal and something that can be of benefit to you. And so those of you who are successful with your examinations, you have choices to make. I'm just giving you, from my standpoint, some examples of persons who would have, and there are many examples around of persons who would have made a decision early in life and it has paid dividends. or those decisions have paid dividends in their latter years. So that is just my two piece on that one. So I move on from there. Pork and Beer Festival. I want to give a plug to my friends over there in Brick Hill. This is a group of young men. They're called Link Promotions. I know Jariv and his friends are involved in this particular group. When they're called upon to do anything, they always contribute their time and energy. Now, 4 years ago, this is their 4th anniversary of hosting this Pork and Beer Festival. And I believe it was back in 2019 thereabout. Yeah, the idea was put to them. Listen, if you're seeking to do something, I told them then that this is perhaps one of those areas or one of those events you can certainly make or turn it into an annual festival. Sometimes you hear about first annual, you don't hear about the second annual, the third, much less the fourth. But these guys have stuck together, and based on the success I understand that they had last year, they are going on again with this year. The 4th annual Pork and Beer Festival. It's normally held over there on the basketball court at the old Whitehall School grounds. And this is slated for Saturday the 23rd of November. It may sound like a long time away, but part of the difficulty we have here on the island of Nevis, people will say we didn't hear about something because it was not promoted properly, or the amount of time wasn't given to promote it. So I'm starting now and putting in this plug. So it therefore means if someone find this program or go and listen to this program on YouTube at some point over the next week or two, or maybe in another month, they would know that the Pork and Beer Festival that has been held since 2019 is going to be held again this year. And I want us to go out and support when the time comes. Now, they normally have pork done in all kind of different styles, whether it's stew pork, jerk pork, roast pork, fried pork. I don't even know what else they would do with that pork, but they have pork in all kind of different styles over there. And of course, pork goes well with beer and other drinks. So that's why they call it a Pork and Beer Festival. Of course, you'll have the chicken and the goat water and the fish and all kind of thing, but pork is the major meat type that is being promoted with this festival. And it's certainly a good thing because, of course, we have some investment that have been made in the pork industry here on the island of Nevis, and it's one of those wholesome meat that most people gravitate to. I don't want to say about myself, but it's not for me in terms of saying what I eat from what I don't eat, but I would say those of you who are pork lovers and pork eaters, go on out and support this when the time comes. You'll hear more about it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try and bring the gentleman here at some point over the next couple of weeks to give the general public a sense as to what their intentions are this year. Because over in the St. James area, we are good at putting on functions and events. When we say all road leads to St. James, the numbers come on over. People come on over in their numbers. So I know this one is going to be one that would be well attended when the time comes, all being well, yeah? Okay. Last week I had with me Mr. Wendell Micey Wallace, and we were talking about a tour that he have coming up shortly to Anguilla, where he'll be taking the New Vision Togetherness cricket team or cricket club. Well, this team is born out of his cricket academy, which is called the Wendell Austin Wallace Academy. And of course, the team will be journeying down to Anguilla on Monday and spend the entire week down there and play 4 matches against youngsters of similar age range. He said that he's taking a team with young men about 13 and under. Of course, we have some exciting players at that age over there in the St. James area, so they are part of his academy, and indeed they'll be traveling down to Anguilla, on Monday the 26th of August. Now, before all that though, tomorrow morning at 9:30, Wendell Wallace, Micey Wallace for that matter, that's his nickname, indicated to me that he'll be having the launch of his academy. That's the official launch. Now, the academy has been around for some time, but in terms of the official launch of that academy, it takes place tomorrow, and this will start at 9:30 in the morning tomorrow there at the VOGen Sporting Complex. So I'm inviting one and all to come on over and lend your support to Micey and his academy, and more so to the youngsters. So at 9:30 tomorrow we'll have the launch of the Wendell Austin Wallace, as he dubbed it, the WOW Academy. Yeah, and this is a wonderful thing. And why I am mentioning this again is that I believe Micey Wallace deserves some credit for spearheading such an academy and taking charge of our young boys and young girls as well. Now, a lot of emphasis have been placed on our young girls and ladies over the last couple of years. A lot of emphasis, and nothing is wrong with that. Let me be clear. But we cannot spend all of the time talking about our young girls and women and neglect our boys and young men. There's enough space, there's enough resources, and there's enough time that can be contributed to both at the same time. So it's not like this year we're going to big up our girls, next year big up our girls, and then 5 years later you big up our boys. We want to big them up and embrace them every single day, because some of the challenges that we are having out there in our communities are mostly with our boys and young men. And indeed, if we were to neglect their needs and priorities, then of course we'll have difficulties going into the future. And so that is why I am so proud of the work that Micey is doing. He have taken all of these young men under his leadership, and he's grooming them and giving them a pathway through sports so that they can excel as young men, and also young girls, because there are girls in that academy as well. And so I am so proud of him and the effort that he's making in actually taking these young men down to Anguilla so that they can play against their peers and also establish friendship with some of their peers, because as I said last week, somewhere along the line, some of these young men who are going down there to Anguilla will meet some of those young men as well in our domestic tournament. For example, in our Leeward Island tournament where St. Kitts Nevis play against Anguilla, Montserrat and the type of thing. So they'll meet them there, compete against them, and then of course they can graduate to the Leeward Island team where they'll play as colleagues then, not competing. Perhaps competing to some extent when they're batting or bowling, because sometimes we will throw out the challenge and say, I'm going to take more wickets than you, or I'll make more runs than you. But at least they'll be contributing collectively to one common cause then. And of course, I suspect a number of them would get to at least the West Indies cricket team, and then if they continue to excel, they can get to the West Indies youth team, I should say, first of all, and of course later on they can get into the West Indies senior team, or move from Leeward Islands straight into the West Indies senior team. Sky is the limit when it comes to these things. So Micey, take a bow, huh? And as I said before, I'm going to continue providing you with the support that is necessary to ensure that we continue to lend our services and our resources to the advancement of these young guys. So all the best and much success on your trip down to Anguilla. And indeed, I did say I might certainly try my best to accompany you so as to lend some support. We'll see how it goes, but I can get up on the morning and say I'm ready to go. Yeah, okay, so we leave that and move to the weather. Of course, yes, we are having some real summer weather outside right now. Sun is hot. Yeah, last week when I came it was raining. Today it's hot, but we expect it to be like this because between now and let's say September we'll have these hot weather patterns, and indeed some rain will come here and there. But also, as I said in the past, and I'll continue to say, let us keep looking towards the east, that African west coast, to see what waves are coming off. We cannot fall asleep at this time. We cannot be nonchalant in any way. We have to stay on our guard, and we have to keep our vigilance at this point in time, because of course we had a weather system last week or the week before, Ernesto. There are more to come, and we are hoping that they don't come our way, but if they come our way, then we should be prepared accordingly. And so I am suggesting to all of us to continue with our preparations and continue to listen to the major radio stations, the major network through which you get your weather bulletin, for example. But I would always ensure and encourage you to listen to Von Radio, for example. Listen to any information coming from the Nevis Disaster Management Department or anything coming from NEMA on St. Kitts. So those are the major weather trackers, so to speak. They're the ones who deal with most of the weather systems or provide information, and all of the necessary training that are given from time to time are done through the Nevis Disaster Management Department and also through NEMA and other entities in the Federation as well. But let us keep track of what is going on, okay? And indeed, it is important now, moving all the way down to the end of November. Okay, so we'll leave that and move on and say that this is my third program since the culmination of our Culturama 50. Indeed, the first show after Culturama, I would have spent the entire show and used that opportunity to thank all of the persons who would have contributed to the overall success of the Herbert Beach Affair. Sorry. The Herbert Beach Affair. And indeed, it was indeed a success. And you know why I know it's a success, or was a success? Up to now, I ain't hear anything coming from the other side. I ain't hear them say a thing about Herbert Beach Affair. As a matter of fact, last year the airwaves were filled with all kind of information, all kind of disinformation, misinformation, and the likes. This year, not a peep. So you can't touch success. When something is successful, you leave it and move on. Well, I've already thanked the people who would have contributed. All of the entities that would have supported have done so already. And of course, last week we touched on mostly cricket because I had a guest. This week, let me touch on Culturama because the fever is still in the air. The joy and the frolic is still there. People are still in that kind of mood. Sorry. And as a matter of fact, I will say to you that there are still persons here on the island who would have come in for Culturama 50. They're still here, and you know, they're probably getting the best part of the island now, in that during Culturama we have this hustle and bustle. You're going to shows, resting up in the day, you're meeting people and talking and chatting and having fun and drinking a beer, having a certain type of beverages that may slow you down and may just put you in that joyous mood or whatever the case might be. Those are done for now, and now persons who are still here are now able to savor what is here on the island of Nevis. Mean going out and meeting up with your families, going out and sitting down with your friends, going to church, the old church that you would have gone to when you used to live here, and just, you know, reminiscing on the things and participating in certain things that you may have done in the past. So this is still a good period of time to be here. I've met quite a number of persons who are still around, and I want to say to you, continue to enjoy yourself right here in your beloved island, your land of your birth, and enjoy what is being offered here, and whatever you want to do, you just do it, because this place is yours. Just be legal about it. But I put it that way because I was unable to express thank you to all who would have come and who are still here, and I do so now. Thanks to all who would have heeded the plea to come home and be a part of this homecoming celebration called Culturama 50. Culturama 50 for everyone would have offered something. Some may say it was the best they've ever had. Some may say it was good. Some will have something negative to say and say it wasn't the best. But these are varied opinions, and when it comes to me, I embrace all. But I can tell you my opinion of Culturama is that it was a ball. Part of the reason why I say that is because for anything to be good, you must have the participation of people. And persons came in their numbers. Thousands of persons came to Nevis. And there's a saying, the more the merrier. The more that came, the merrier the place was, if I can put it that way. And when I say the merrier, I can say translated into the money being made by people. People who are businessmen and women, people who had some services to offer, goods to sell. Money was made throughout the entire Culturama. But let me back up and say, based on the data that we looked at, we are understanding that American Airlines, for example, or I believe it was American Airlines, over 6,000 passengers they would have brought in, or over 6,000 passengers would have passed through RLB in St. Kitts. Now those I would say, maybe you take off a 500 or whatever, and that's what stayed in St. Kitts. And even those in that 500 would have been some Nevisians who couldn't find place in Nevis and stayed in St. Kitts. So I almost want to think most, if not all, of the persons who came through RLB during that time and were destined for Nevis, that is how you got that number, those numbers. And so I want to say thank you to all those persons in St. Kitts who would have, spent their time and taken care of our guests or citizens who would have come home for Culturama. And of course the accolades and compliments are being heaped upon the Minister of Tourism and St. Kitts, and sometimes we just have to give credit where credit is due. Of course the Minister requires some credit, yes, or deserves some credit, but the credit, most of the credit, if not the majority of credit, must go to the Premier, his cabinet, the Nevis Island Administration, the Culturama Committee, and all those who would have gone out on radio, television, social media, and all the platforms that are available to spread the message about our homecoming celebration, Culturama 50. A wonderful job was done to invite persons home, and persons heeded the call. The clarion call was sent out, and persons heeded that call, and they came in their numbers, and they came to have fun. Not only that, they came to see, well, let me come to see what Nevis is like, because you remember, prior to the election, not the elections, the Culturama, the NRP was saying, listen, everything in Nevis bad, road bad, water going off, electricity going off, schools in disrepair, roads in disrepair, buildings in the, everything that was bad about Nevis was spewed by the NRP. And we all knew it was a lie. So I said to everyone, come and see for yourself. Those of you who live in Nevis, go out and see for yourself. Because your eyes won't fool you at all. And indeed your eyes were not fooling you, because you can see for yourself that what we were saying about the island of Nevis, where we have done a marvelous job in terms of our infrastructural upgrade, a marvelous job with water, ensuring that we have water 24/7, marvelous job with electricity in terms of the investment in Nevlec, marvelous job with our housing, all up and down Nevis, whether it's up there in Craddock Road, up in Hamilton, over at Cherry Garden, what we call Chimney View, whether it's over there in Maddens, what we call Cedar View, whether it's down in Rice's, wherever on the island housing is taking place or being constructed, we asked you to go out and see. And you went and you saw, and you gave Nevis an A+. The majority of persons who came felt that Nevis was on the right track in terms of its development. And all the access to this continue to take care of this beloved land of theirs and of ours. But I'm speaking, of the persons who would have come and have seen. Because those of us who live here know that what they're talking is nonsense, eh? And persons came and suffered themselves, and now the NRP is trying to reverse that and say, what you saw was not seen. So they are trying to tell you to unsee what you have seen by planting some banana trees in pothole, 1 or 2 potholes around Nevis. Potholes I'm talking about, potholes that exist all over the world. The NRP have gone and done something dangerous. And I said the NRP, because we are condemning it, but they are the ones who are glorifying it. So I can only say, it gotta be they know who they sent out to do whatever, or whoever would have gone out, they know who went. But I am saying to whoever is undertaking such practice, it is a dangerous practice in that I passed 2 trees down there in Penny's area, what do you call it there? They turn off to Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. I passed 2 of them there one morning, I think it was earlier in the week, about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I saw them late, meaning something was in front of me. And I said, listen, suppose this was something else, suppose this could have caused an accident or something of that sort. Where was the thinking on behalf of whoever would have done that? And I said to myself I was going to stop and come out and pull them up and take them home and plant them, But I certainly don't want those trees around my yard, because I don't know what they'll become. But put that aside. You don't do that on the island main road, a major thoroughfare. If you have a point to make your point in other ways. But to do that is just silly, in my opinion. And here's what you do. People like Neil Long would have come here and have given this island such a wonderful, you know, some wonderful marks in terms of saying my heart is in Nevis. When someone said their heart is in Nevis, it means they love this place and they're coming back, because what they saw when they came is what they expected, and it exceeded their expectations. And so all of those good accolades about the island of Nevis have been going worldwide. Now you're up now, take up these banana trees, put them in the road and take a picture and put it out on Facebook. And people know all of the work that you have done to spread the good word about the island of Nevis and what is happening here. You go now as an opposition with nothing else to offer but you know, what should I say, negativity about the island of Nevis. You go now and put that on social media to make some cheap, see if you get some cheap political points, and in the process the majority of damage is being done to the image of the island of Nevis. I wonder if people understand how far-reaching some of these nonsense can be. Every time I talk about Nevis, I know Nevis have its difficulties and its challenges. Every country have that, and every island have those difficulties and challenges. But every time you speak about your island, you want to be as positive as you can, as enthusiastic as you can, and as optimistic as you can, and leave all the pessimism and all the negativity and misinformation and disinformation to the side. Because once you love this island, you were born and raised here, embrace it, and love what is emanating from the island of Nevis, you'd always want to speak as positively as possible. There are many countries that talk good things about their country, and many people from other countries speak good things about their country and the island. We know you ain't so, but the navel string buried there, and there's nowhere under the sun they're going to call on their island. The same island that gave birth to them, and the same island in which they're making a living. They won't do it. So we have two parties in Nevis. You have the NRP, you have the CCM. The CCM is all about enthusiasm, about positivity, about optimism and everything that is good. The NRP is all about doom and gloom, the worst picture you can paint of Nevis, and they've done it ever since I know that party is a part of their culture. Their culture is about lies, deception, doom and gloom, and everything that is negative. But we want, as a party, CCM, and as a government, to continue to present the best that we have to offer to the world, because the investors out there sitting down listening to some of these things, you know. They're looking on and they're listening. And sometimes you wonder, well, why is it there's so many challenges in bringing persons to the island to invest? And this is what the research have proven to them, you know, that this opposition that we see here have been putting out so many negatives. People will stop and think. People will stop and think. And this is the same opposition that wants to manage the affairs of Nevis. They want to get into government, and look how crazy they are. They want to get into government and have never presented a prescription for any development on the island of Nevis. Every day is negativity, every day is criticism, every day is misinformation, every day is disinformation, but you have not heard a thing of positive news or positive information coming from NRP, to the point where they ran an election. All they were talking about change. We want change, 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 change. With no manifesto. Not even one line in the manifesto to say what they were going to do for the island of Nevis. I wonder if people understand how far-reaching such an attitude is. In terms of saying change with no well, they don't want no airport to be constructed because they protest against it. They went up there to Newcastle to protest against it. They don't want an airport expansion. And that is a project that can transform the island of Nevis. NRP said they don't want no airport constructed. They talk about geothermal. They call on geothermal every day. Every day they talk about geothermal. But I want to remind the people of Nevis, that same NRP there, they were up and down here, geothermal coming. They whip us east, west, north and south with geothermal. They had a company, West Indies Power, whip. They take West Indies Power to court, you know, to fire West Indies Power. That's same NRP. The most talk about geothermal in and out of government, but they're the ones who turn around and say, West Indies Power ain't got no money. Went to court and get the court to fire West Indies Power. NRP. Went down in Charleston with all kind of song and dance about geothermal coming. Had a big parade and a big song and dance down there. By the time we got into government, NRP done fire West Indies Power, went to court. I myself recall going down to St. Kitts where the Court of Appeal was being held, and I sat there during that appeal because West Indies Power appealed that decision in the high courts. So we came in and all the pickup and all of the balloon and all of the things them that were being used by West Indies Power to promote geothermal and everything. We didn't find a thing around. I don't know where they're gone. Gimmick. And that's what the NRP has presented to you. But with all they're saying, they would not tell you, that the NRP is the only party in this island that was found to be a cheat when it comes to elections. The court found them to be a cheat. Null and void. They made a seat up there in Nevis 2, St. John's, null and void, right at the High Court down there. Went to the High Court, went to the Appeals Court, and they were found to be cheats. Take off people name off the list. So with all the noise they're making, right? I don't study NRP, because the reason why I don't study them is because they can't be serious, because none of them on the other side apparently is serious to me. Because they ain't employing one soul to say that they have the prescription to employ anybody in government. You got to start from out there before you come in. Yeah? And also, let me say to you that a lot of us forget, under the NRP, we ended up in the hands of the IMF. You hear them talking about debt? You hear them talking about expenditure and debt? They ran up the debt to the point where they had to run to the IMF to bail out the island of Nevis. Yeah? These are the things that they don't want you to know, they don't want you to recall, because all of the criticisms that are being made of the CCM is because they want to hide their record. An abysmal record NRP has when it comes to governance in Nevis. And look who they have as the leader. Look who they have as the leader. Someone who have never run anything or been anywhere close to government in Nevis to say that she knows how to run government. So if you think that was bad then, how was it going to be if you ever make the mistake with that leader and the current NRP? Because I know the anger that they're spewing right now, trust me, they get power in the hand, the whole of Nevis, they'll kick you off the street and all. Remember, they don't take your name off the list, You are a bona fide Nevisian, a bona fide voter, registered voter, and NRP decide you ain't going to vote. 200 plus people disappeared from the voters list. Taken off. Say you're dead, whatever the case might be. NRP remove your name from the voters list because they didn't want you to vote in the island of your birth. And that's how they are. And if you think they change, nobody can tell you they change. They have to show you that they have changed, and they haven't shown you one bit that they have changed in any way. I don't listen to people talk. Believe in action. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions have told me that there's no change in that party, no change at those at the top, and no change to those who have come in. They have all embraced themselves in that culture, cloaked themselves in that culture of lies and deception. And if you think that I'm talking anything that doesn't make sense, well, watch them good. Watch their actions. Listen to them first and then watch them good. I haven't changed one bit. But anyway, let's move on and leave them, yeah? Because people have come and people have enjoyed and people have seen, and there's no way you can make people unsee what they would have seen. We said to come and have a look, and you came, and I thank you. And you here in Nevis who live here, get out and enjoy your island. People are coming and enjoying it, so go out and enjoy it for yourself. Nothing is wrong with that. Okay, good, let's move on, because there are good things happening here on the island. Earlier this week, the Nevis Island Administration would have put out some information regarding that non-established retirement package. And you see, when we say that the CCM is all about people and the well-being of our citizens, I believe that the only party here on the island who think about people first is the Concerned Citizens Movement. Because I will say to you that no other party in government has ever spoken or implemented the non-established retirement package that we are talking about now. As a matter of fact, I am very much convinced that left to the NRP, it would have never happened. Never happened. Because you see, when these policies are being drafted and implemented, they come from a spirit of understanding that people must be able to live in a dignified way here on the island of Nevis. And you must be able to retire with some dignity as well. Retiring with dignity means that you have some comfort and some cushion in those days of retirement. We recall that non-established workers would have retired from the service in the past with nothing. They got a check when they went out the door and that's it. Nothing to look forward to on a monthly basis other than when they get to the point of collecting their social security benefits. But no, lo and behold, the CCM would have said as part of their agenda that we will ensure that all non-established workers are taken care of, and that policy or that program was implemented back in 2022, the 1st of September to be exact. And of course, by providing this dignity in retirement, it provides that financial dignity as well. At least you know there is something coming to you at the end of the month. So what was done earlier this week was to put out some information to show that at least those who are retiring, non-established workers that is, who are retiring or who have retired since September 1st of 2022 will get a lump sum gratuitous payment equal to 25% of the retirement payment accumulated over a 15-year period or more. And then of course the remaining 75% will be paid to you monthly over the months and the years to come. So you get that 25% lump sum to go as a gratuitous payment, and then of course you get your monthly payment thereafter. So that is for those who all non-established workers, not all, but one should have reached to a certain amount of years. You can't work for 5 years and expect to get, or 7 years. There are thresholds that you have to meet, and these are continuous years. So you work for 10 consecutive years, 15 consecutive years and beyond. Yeah? Okay. So there's also another component to it, that persons who would have worked for 15 years, for example, in this case you receive the gratuitous payment, and then the retirement payment starts at 62. So simply put, you work for 15 years, you get your 25% upon leaving, and then of course once you're at the age of 62 you get your monthly payment. Most persons are leaving at the age of 62 anyway, and then of course this doesn't include what you'll get from Social Security. So at least you know you're getting a lump sum and then you're getting a monthly payment. But what is most important as well too is that persons who would have worked for 10 consecutive years as an unestablished worker, and of course if you become incapacitated, you pass away, whatever the case might be, your estate will still get some benefits in that once you'd have worked for 10 years at least you would end up getting what that gratuitous payment that the actual worker didn't get, but the estate will get it. Just that, no payments thereafter, no monthly payments, but you'll get that gratuitous payment once you work. Once that person who is incapacitated would have worked for at least 10 consecutive years and pass away, for example, you'll get that gratuitous payment, one-time gratuitous payment, I must say, but not the monthly payment after that, because of course the person is incapacitated or have passed away. But anyway, any further information you need and further clarification and anything that you need to know about this package and this program, you have the ability to call the Human Resource Department, call your minister who you have worked with before, or the department, ministry you have worked with before. They all have the information that they can pass on to you. Yeah? But I want to just say that we are a party that looks out for the people of Nevis, but this is one of those policies that you will not hear coming from the opposition. It's too good for them to talk about. You must not hear about the good. So this one for sure is one that I feel that you look after the humanity of people and look after the human being, for example, and make sure that you're demonstrating that level of humanity towards your people, and the respect and regard for those who would have put in those years of work and those times that are most difficult, because some of these persons would have worked in some of the most challenging areas. For example, in the water department, for example, in sanitation. In all those challenging areas, these are the type of persons we're trying to ensure that even though they would have worked hard, and even though in the past they may not have gotten anything, we're making sure that at this point in their life, when they get to the point of retirement, they can retire with some dignity and feel like a human being, and understand that the administration that would have done this work on their behalf deserves some credit for doing so. And that's why I'm thanking the Premier of Nevis, the cabinet of the Nevis Island administration, and all those in the Nevis Island administration who would have sat down together as a team to put this package together to ensure that we're rolling out this for the betterment of our people, and to ensure that when persons get to that retirement age and they have that flow of income coming in, at least they can pay their bills. They don't have to depend on the government for everything, and they don't have to depend on their relatives, for example, for everything as well. They can be as independent as they can be in retirement, so that they can go out and make the contribution in the community, make the contribution to their church, make a contribution to their family, make a contribution towards the development of the island of Nevis. So these things are important. These things are, things that can certainly transform the lives and an island, and those who live on the island, and the lives of the people that are on this island. It can certainly transform your lives, and that's how you look out for people. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone a whole hour. Yeah. I've gone a whole hour, and time flies sometimes. It's just about 1 or 2 minutes before I get out of here. But let me just say that at least we understand what we have to do as a people here on the island of Nevis, and I want to say that there's no dispute on this island about the progress that we have made, none whatsoever. Yeah. And I can say to you that our water is fine, electricity is fine, the infrastructure is good. I mean, we have reduced unemployment here in Nevis. Unemployment is down, employment is robust, and every day I'm seeing requests for employees in different sectors. You're seeing these publications being done that we need workers here, we need workers there, and I want to thank all those who are putting all those bulletins so that people who are seeking employment would know exactly where to find employment. And indeed, our small business continue to make money. So there are a lot of good things happening, and we'll continue to talk about the good things, because you cannot go against the facts. Facts are clear. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's just about 2 o'clock, and it was indeed my pleasure being here. Indeed, I had many more things I would have loved to touch, but 1 hour goes by quickly. But I want to say my hour was well spent. I want to thank you for listening. And indeed, those of you who, as I always say, go to church on a Sunday, go to church on Sunday. Those who go on a Saturday, go on a Saturday and serve your God. And make sure that you continue to make a contribution towards the development of Nevis. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to bless the island of Nevis. And may we all continue to be good citizens, because this island needs all of us to be such. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful and safe weekend, and may God continue to bless us all. Thank you.
And opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.